why all this mixed messaging, and what actually is or potentially was being debated in Switzerland, given how things have unfolded today?
Right. This is yet another sign that this administration simply does not know what it's doing. It doesn't have clear strategic objectives. It doesn't have a strategy. It doesn't have competent people in charge of the government on what you would believe to be some of the most fundamental and important priorities of any administration to safeguard this national security of the United States. Basically, what's happening is Trump is blowing up the fragile agreement that he reached. It is a terrible agreement. It favors the Iranians overwhelmingly, but not because it was poorly negotiated, although that's part of it. It's because Trump lost the war. The Iranians have all the cards. They control the strait. They have the ability to disrupt and destroy the economies of the Persian Gulf states. They took one of the biggest blows Israel and the U.S. could wage against them and survived it and are stronger than before. And so they're in a position of strength negotiating this agreement. In the particulars of this agreement, they are supposed to be talking about the nuclear deal at these talks. But before they can get to that, they have to deal with the first 5 paragraphs of the MOU, which say, in part, that the United States and Israel will refrain from the threat or use of force against each other and ensure the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. Well, they haven't done that. The president keeps violating the MOU on an almost hourly basis, and Israel refuses to stop its war on Lebanon and refuses to withdraw. So the Iranians are saying, and I would say rightfully, and I think most international experts would agree, looking at this, that how can we talk about the nuclear program when you are not even honoring the agreement we just inked, a few days ago? This does not bode well for the progress on these talks.
You have, in fact, called the MOU a strategic disaster. But my question is, with regard to the president's behavior today, there's been a lot of criticism reflecting what you've said in the last few days. Do you think it is at all conceivable that he may be intentionally trying to put a stall on things to rework an MOU? Would that make sense at all to you?
Perhaps, but it's more likely he's defaulting to his Tony Soprano method of negotiating, which is to bully and threaten and to cause bodily harm, physically bodily harm to the Iranians and to threaten their entire country in the process. This is what happens when he doesn't have any cards to play. He's in a weak position, and now he's embarrassed by this deal. His base is revolting against it. If he were forced to present this deal to the United States Congress, I don't think it would pass. And that's not something I would have said just a week ago. So he's frustrated. He's lashing out. He's acting irrationally, as he often does, and basically lying about what's going on. J.D. Vance just lied. He said that the Iranian nuclear program has been destroyed. No, it hasn't. It is intact and still quite capable. And that's what he should be focusing on. How do we get a deal here? A deal is possible, but not this way.
Well, in fact, as you well know, Trump tore up former President Obama's 2015 nuclear deal. He called it a terrible deal. It's horrendous. It's one of the worst deals ever made. So how does what's on the table now compare? Because Trump claims this deal with Iran amounts to unconditional surrender. Does it?
Yeah. No. To the joke in Washington is that Trump told us this war was going to end with unconditional surrender. He didn't tell us it was going to be our unconditional surrender. No, Iran is getting most of what it wanted, what its objectives wanted. It wanted reparations. It gets that with a $300 billion reconstruction fund. It wanted a non-aggression pledge from the United States. It got that. It wants an end to the war. Well, we potentially had the ceasefire. It wants Israel to withdraw from Lebanon. They haven't got that yet. And it's fine with opening up the Strait of Hormuz as long as all that's possible. And the U.S. releases Iranian frozen assets in banks around the world and drops all sanctions. All of that is up front in the deal. And it's because Iran basically won this war and has the ability to close the strait. And as President Trump said, he doesn't want to end up being Herbert Hoover. And what he means by that is in about 4 weeks, and this is his words, in about 4 weeks, the world's going to run out of oil. And then the economy really seizes up and really freezes. And he would indeed be ushering in an economic crisis. So as time goes on, Iran's leverage increases, U.S. leverage decreases. He could get it